Currently, the country called Kenya is almost drowning, indeed already drowning, in corruption scandals. Now, unfortunately, corruption bores the vast majority of Kenyans. When they hear the word corruption, or when they hear another scandal, they just sigh. And it becomes boring. They forget about it. Because it's same old, same old. We've been hearing about corruption scandals for a very long time. Since the beginning of the country called Kenya. Since the beginning of the independent country called Kenya. So don't sigh yet, because I'm going to talk about corruption, but in a very different way. Because I'm going to focus on a very interesting statement, or rather a remark, made by a man I consider to be a wise old man. And you know the interesting thing about old men? They don't do much talking. They just say something, and then they pause, and you wait for them to qualify their statement, and you wait for them to elaborate. And the cows come home and they've still not elaborated. Anyway, this wise old man said, the current spate of big corruption scandals could easily bring down the Jubilee government. Now, that is interesting. And if it had come from a young man, I would have just written it off. However, I've given it a bit of thought. And actually, there's some truth in what the man says. Or rather, let me just put it in the way he sees it. Because he sees a lot of things very differently from the way the rest of the Kenyans see it. Let me give you another example of a recent statement, which I'm very sure you're going to disagree with. But you cannot disagree with the wisdom behind the statement. He said that Kenya is better off with the old political dynasties. We are much better off. Why? Because when new dynasties come, because surely there'll be new dynasties. Because some people are campaigning and saying, let's get rid of the old political dynasties. And let us get one of our own, hustlers, kawaida mwananchi, into the presidency of Kenya. When these new dynasties come into power, they'll have to play catch-up. They'll have to play catch-up to make as much money as the old dynasties have made over the years. Now, to catch up, you have to eat a lot faster. You have to eat a lot more. However, the advantage of the old dynasties, wameshiba kiasi. They're busy protecting their ill-gotten wealth. And therefore, they will not be busy, they will not be very interested in current eating. Because it's not worth the risk. You're already very rich. People are catching up with corruption. You already have your huge investments all over the country. You have I don't know how many million shares of I don't know which company. The value is rising every day. You have farms all over the place. You're harvesting. So, they're less likely to get involved in big corruption deals. However, when you bring in somebody new, and of course they've cheated you as the voter, that they're bringing change. But actually the truth is they want to bring change to their family name. They want to bring change to their bank account, at your expense, by stealing from public coffers. That's really what it is. So the old man concluded, we are much better off with the old dynasties. And I have to agree with him. So back to my initial question. How will corruption, or how can corruption possibly bring down the mighty Jubilee government? How? The only clue we have from the old man to work with is the following statement. This time, it is different. It's very different. So how is it different this time? We shall answer that question, as well as give you a lot of amazing revelations shortly after the upcoming commercial break. Don't go away. Welcome back. Now, there are two distinct things, or there are two top of the list things, which are very different this time about corruption in high places. And those two things could give us different results this time, very easily, and probably bring the very dramatic words of the old man coming to pass. The first thing is that in the past, corruption has worked because the political class has been united in corruption. It has been united in eating. But for the first time in Kenya, we have a situation whereby the old money is very aggressively fighting the new money. Old corruption wants to finish new corruption, and new corruption is fighting back. The second thing that is new are the amounts involved. We are talking about huge amounts one cannot even begin to imagine or even wrap their minds around. For instance, the latest estimates of the possible amount, it's not confirmed, just possible, what people can be able to see. And usually there's a lot more people cannot be able to see. But the figure currently for the NYS scandal is 8.8 billion Kenya shillings. Now, folks, that's the amount of money that just makes your brain tired. You know, trying to be able to estimate what 8.8 billion means, your mind just refuses to do that calculation. It just gets tired even before it has started. That's a lot of money. And that is only one scandal. National Cereals and Produce Board, where the government paid cartels, people are not farmers, for maize delivered at the National Cereals and Produce Board. And these people are paid at a time when the board owes farmers who delivered their maize a long time ago a lot of money, 2.6 billion. But then they couldn't find this 2.6 billion to pay farmers their arrears, money they should have been paid a long time ago. But they could find 1.9 billion to pay new deliveries. Pop! Anyway, let's not dwell too much on the figures because that will get us very confused. Okay? You just take it from me, take my word for it. The amounts are humongous, huge, colossal. Now, how is all this dangerous to the survival of the Jubilee government? Let's go straight into that without wasting time. Now, you'll notice with the NYS probe, it's very interesting because arrests are very slow in being made. And then secondly, the kind of people being exposed are just ordinary Kenyans, some of whom do not even know how to apply for a tender. Most of them confess they never delivered anything to the NYS. Now, first of all, we need to know how this game is played, okay? These cartels are very clever people, very intelligent people. They have been stealing for a long time. They know all the tricks, they know all the procedures. So what has been done in this case is they've covered their tracks. They have known that definitely at some time there's a very high possibility an investigation will be carried out. Okay, so their names must not appear anywhere. The names of their companies must not appear anywhere. So they just approach innocent individuals. Tell them this is what you do, this is what you do. You'll receive a payment of 60 million from the government. I'm not greedy. You'll just pass over 59 million to me, remain with 1 million. Or you'll pass over 55 million to me, 5 million is yours. Now, who would refuse such a deal? Now, when investigations start, because you need evidence to throw people into jail. You can't just throw them into jail for suspicion. So when investigations start, there's no evidence against these cartels. But there's evidence against small fry. The biggest piece of evidence is they received the payment. Okay? Now, even if push comes to shove, and some of these people have suspicion, they know that the whole order came from so-and-so, a big fish, who sent his friend so-and-so to tell me to do this and that and that. There's no evidence linking to that big fish, because just mentioning their name is not evidence. So the poor small fry go into jail, they're convicted, there's enough evidence, and the big fish remain out there, saying something like, bring on the next deal. This time the amount was 8 billion, we got away with it. Let's shoot for 80 billion. Now, meanwhile, these small prosecutions, or these small fish coming forward with their amazing statements, is not being bought by the public. Already there's a lot of hue and cry that the big fish should be presented. Nobody's interested in the small fish. So immediately we can see what's going to happen. There's going to be increased pressure for the big fish to be brought to book. Now what will happen is that these cartels will be forced to take action. They'll be forced to do something. And one of the possible things they can do is get a sacrificial lamb. A big enough name. Allow that name to come forward and allow that name to be prosecuted with promises that deals could be done. Because we know in Kenya, people go to prison, but sometimes they don't remain in those prisons. In fact, we've had cases before where people have been sentenced and they've never even spent one day inside prison. This is Kenya. But here's the tricky part. Whatever they do, the Kenyan public has become a lot wiser over the years. Okay? And immediately you start exposing part of your cartel, the whole cartel is gone. What they'll actually be doing is opening the door for people to dig deeper and to come nearer to the big fish. They're actually the people involved. Now, the killer here is the fact that there's an ongoing battle, as we've already said, between the old money and the new money. And therefore, this is a very vicious battle. And in its effort to win, the old money could come out and make a few exposés of their own. Now, the new money will not sit back and watch things unfold. They'll also make their own exposés. I think now you're beginning to get a very clear picture of what could possibly happen that could be a danger to the existence of this government. That is a very dangerous situation, because when you have infighting within a government, or within people who are supposed to cooperate to keep a government running, and yet there's a duel going on between some people, then that becomes extremely dangerous to the survival of any government. Now let's wrap this up. By the way, I hope I'm not going too fast. In case I am, we can use the facilities in this wonderful forum. Just ask your question in the comments area. I will answer it. Okay? Now let's wrap this up. When you add the information I've just given you to the fact that this is all happening in a very toxic political environment, then it all becomes now a very dangerous thing for the very survival of the Jubilee government. The National Cereals and Produce Board scandal affects ordinary people in the Rift Valley, farmers. These farmers voted for the current Jubilee government, but now they're suffering. Indeed, they're suffering more than before, and I'll tell you why. Now, because of the so-called cartels, because in that 1.9 billion, there's one particular farmer, we are told, who delivered 212 bags of maize. Now, that kind of farm, the farm that would produce that kind of maize, is not available in Kenya. Okay? Nobody knows where such a farm is, so it doesn't exist. So what happened here is that somebody imported the maize and then delivered to the National Cereals and Produce Board and was paid cash, pap. Now, as a result of what has happened, the new rule is that the National Cereals and Produce Board is not paying a single farmer more than 2 million shillings. Now, here's a typical farmer. He has delivered maize for several seasons and has not been paid. He's owed about 10 million. He can only be paid 2 million for now. And yet the reason why this farmer allowed the money to accumulate to that level is that in the past the same thing has happened and then finally has been paid. Maybe one big payment, 9 million, 10 million and so on and so forth. And although he complains, he knows that in the end he'll get paid and the money will help him. Now that particular door has been shut firm. Why? Because of the cartels. Folks, this is where politics stops being tribal and becomes purely financial. Let me just leave it at that. The other thing we need to take careful note of is that the economy is limping. There's no money. The government of Kenya has no money. So what is happening is that scarce resources, scarce finances are being looted. Now that's extremely dangerous. Now there's something else that has really raised eyebrows. The president on May 18th this year, last week, said that the government will show no mercy to corrupt people. Yeah? But in that statement, in fact, in the same sentence, the president also said the government will not spare people who spoil other people's names on social media. Now, in the next and final part of this series, I'm going to analyze that statement and its huge implications, very huge implications. Okay? You know the usual drill. Look out for that link on the top left-hand corner of the screen. Click on it and immediately you'll be on that recording. See you there. This is Chris Kumekucha.